Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into the world of Chopard, but we're not just going to admire them as gorgeous timepieces. Nope, we're going to look at them as something else entirely, powerful financial assets. So let me ask you something. Could that luxury watch you own actually fund your next big idea? It's a pretty wild thought, right? That the watch on your wrist could be the key to unlocking instant cash, maybe for a new business, a smart investment, or hey, even just to handle one of life's curveballs. Well, today we're going to break down exactly how that works. And here's the thing about Chopard. They're in this really cool, unique spot. They managed to perfectly mix that incredible, dazzling style of high jewelry with some seriously good in-house Swiss watchmaking. And that's the magic formula, you know? It's what makes these watches more than just pretty faces. It makes them reliable places to park your money. All right, first step, unlocking your asset's value. So let's get right into it. How do we take that value that's just sitting there on your wrist and turn it into actual cash you can use? How do you make a luxury item liquid exactly when you need it most? The magic word here is liquidity. And it's actually a really simple idea. It's just how quickly can you turn your asset into cash without losing a ton of its value? For people who own high-end watches, pawning has become this really smart, efficient way to do just that. It's all about using what you already own to your advantage without having to actually say goodbye to it. Okay, so section 2, the haute horlogerie tier. This is the pinnacle of value. Now, of course, not all Chopard watches are the same when you're talking about collateral, so we're going to start at the very, very top. Think of these as the heavyweights, the watches that can land you some really substantial capital. And first on our list is an absolute masterpiece. I'm talking about the Chopard LUC Full Strike. Honestly, calling was just a watch doesn't do it justice. It's pure mechanical art. A lot of people say it's one of the boldest, most ambitious minute repeaters out there today. And let me tell you, serious collectors, they go nuts for this thing. So you might be asking, what's the big deal? What makes it so valuable? Well, for starters, the sound it makes is revolutionary. The gongs are actually made of sapphire crystal, and they're fused right onto the watch glass. The result? This amazingly clear, beautiful chime. On top of that, it won the super prestigious A Gilder Award back in 2017, and because they don't make many of them, they're incredibly rare. So what does all that prestige and rarity add up to? Well, on the secondary market, you're looking at a price tag somewhere between $250,000 and £350,000. Yeah, you heard that right. This is the kind of watch that can unlock some very serious capital. Okay, next up in this top tier is another beauty, the LUC Lunar 1. This is Chopard's Star Perpetual Calendar. It just perfectly nails that balance between a classic, super elegant look and some really impressive modern watchmaking tech. So why is it such a strong asset? Well, a big part of it is its status as a flagship model in that super high-end LUC collection. But the thing that really grabs you is that huge, gorgeous moon phase display down at 6 o'clock. It's a really complex piece of engineering, but it's still so easy to read and just looks incredibly classy. Now, it's true that it usually sells for less than its original retail price on the secondary market. But don't let that fool you. A Lunar 1 still holds a ton of value, usually somewhere in the mid-five-figure range. And that makes it another fantastic, really reliable watch to use for a loan. All right, moving on to our next section, icons of modern luxury, where style meets substance. Now, these are watches that are totally modern style icons, but they still pack a major punch when it comes to their actual value. These are the kind of watches you'll actually see people wearing, and believe me, they hold their own as serious assets. And kicking this category off is the Alpine Eagle 41. This is a true statement piece, a luxury sports watch that has real credibility behind it. The steel versions are super popular, for sure, but if we're talking about serious collateral value, you've got to look at the ones made from precious metals. So what makes this watch stand out? First off, you've got that amazing textured dial. It's designed to look like the iris of an eagle. How cool is that? It's also got a top-notch in-house movement powering it. And here's the key takeaway. The gold versions just hold their value so much better than the steel ones do. So let's talk numbers. A rose gold Alpine Eagle, you're looking at a starting point in the mid-20,000s on the secondary market. And it's not uncommon to see them listed for closer to 25 or even 30,000 pounds. That is a solid, reliable asset, no question. All right, next up we have a watch that is just pure Chopard. It's an absolute icon, the Happy Sport. And you know what it's famous for, right? It's all about those playful, magical, floating diamonds. So you might think a playful watch isn't a great asset, but you'd be wrong. Here's why. First, those floating diamonds are patented. It's their signature move and everybody recognizes it. Second, it pulls off this amazing trick of feeling like high jewelry, but it's tough enough to wear every day. And finally, because so many people know and love it, there's always a huge market for it. That means it's super liquid. And all that appeal means it has a really dependable value. If you have a well-kept one with diamonds, you're looking at a range of about £4,000 to £8,000 on the secondary market. And hey, that's a really useful amount of money if you need a short-term loan. Okay, let's move on to our final section, the accessible everyday classics. These are liquid and reliable. Think of these watches as your go-to classics. They're super reliable, the market for them is really clear, and they're just perfect if you're looking to secure a smaller, more modest loan. The whole idea here is pretty simple, really. You get all the prestige that comes with the Chopard name, but with a market value that's really predictable. That makes them easy to turn into cash, and it makes them super straightforward for a lender to value. And that's exactly what you want if you need access to cash quickly. This chart gives us a great little summary. You've got the Mille Miglia with that cool motorsport vibe, which usually lands in the low to mid four figures. Then there's the Imperiale. It's more feminine, really polished, and you're typically looking at somewhere between £1,500 and £3,000. And finally, the Ice Cube, which is super modern and architectural. That's a great entry point, anywhere from about £800 to £1,800. The key thing, they're all liquid and they're all reliable. All right, next section, what makes a watch pawnable? Let's look at it from the pawnbroker's view. So we've gone through a bunch of specific models, right? But now let's pull back a bit. What are the fundamental things that make any watch a good asset for a loan? We're about to look at this through the eyes of a pawnbroker. And this checklist is pure gold. It's basically what they're thinking. First up, strong brand recognition. Is it a household name like Chopard? Next, market liquidity. Is there an active, consistent market for this exact model? Third, condition and completeness. Is the watch in good shape? And crucially, do you have the box and papers? That can make a huge difference. And finally, mainstream appeal. Does it appeal to a wide range of people, or is it a super niche thing? So, I want to leave you with this question to chew on. Is your collection just an investment, something sitting in a box getting more valuable over time, or is it a liquid asset, just waiting to be activated, something you can use to grab that next big opportunity when it comes along? It's a whole new way to think about what's on your wrist, isn't it?